implemented for our township. System and location requirements. I mean, fire protection, you know, that might be a little bit different to, you know, like, for example, I mean, they've got drain tile inspections in this ordinance. Fire protection before any construction of the utility scale battery storage system begins, the township's fire department will review. So that's, if we remember back to Chief Music, right, there was, you know, in the roads, the widening of the roads, he wasn't looped into those discussions until almost everything was set and the plans were made. Yeah, you know, it talks about the applicant or operator may amend the fire protection plan from time to time in light of changing technology. The utility scale battery storage system must comply with the fire protection plan approved by the chief. I mean, we got to that with the solar, but it was a little bit, there's a decommissioning that talks about battery, you know, specific to battery storage. Some of the other, there's noise regulations, not to generate above 55 decibels.
Yeah, we have that too.
Okay. Well, like system and location requirements, again, it talks about lighting and security and noise. Actually, system of noise, the noise generated by a commercial utility scale battery energy storage system must not exceed 45 dBA LMAX as measured at the property line of adjacent parcel. Underground transmission, all power lines or other lines, wires, or conduits from a utility scale battery storage system to any building or other structure. Okay. A plan for maximizing any hazardous waste, which is subject to the township's review and approval. Do we have that? That talks about.
We talk about maintenance repair. No,
We might want to, I would think that would be important for the township to have. A plan for resolving complaints from the public or other property owners.
we have a complaint section.
Okay. Decommissioning and land reclamation plan describing the actions to be taken. I think we've got that with the solar.
It's the same as the solar language.
Yeah. A written plan for maintaining the subject property, including a plan for maintaining and inspecting drain tiles and addressing stormwater management, which is subject to the township's review and approval.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Under maintenance and repair, it doesn't have a specific we don't have a specific hazardous waste, but it does talk about when it fails to meet or has a safety hazard, they shall provide notice of the violation or safety hazard, and after a reasonable period, if they're not corrected, they'll have to have a hearing before the township board. So, I mean, it doesn't specifically call it hazardous, any safety hazard.
So does our township have a plan for managing any hazardous waste?
If they do, it's not in the zoning ordinance, it would be a general ordinance.
Now, in Deerfield, they did something a little different because they've got an industrial district. The site development requirements shall meet or exceed all of the requirements of the industrial district and all of the following. I know that's something that we're going to talk about after this with the master plan.
Well, we limit solar and energy storage facilities to the light industrial and general industrial zoning districts.
Right, right, we did, I don't remember, it was 2018 or 20, whatever we revised it to what we're looking at now, that we took the AR out.
Yeah. So it's, they're only allowed in LI and GI districts.
Right.
As a special land use.
mean, I don't know if we have like a fire protection plan which identifies the risk associated with utility scale battery system, describes the fire suppression system that will be implemented, describes what measures will be used to reduce the risk of fires reigniting, identifies the water sources that will be available for the local fire department to protect adjacent properties, identifies the system for continuous monitoring, early detection sensors, and appropriate venting, and explains all other measures that will be implemented to prevent, detect, control, and suppress fire and explosions.
I don't even think you need to say all that. I think you just need to say it has to provide a fire prevention plan and let them, let the fire department determine what they need to approve the project based on the fire code and accessibility and all those things. We can add that as part of 625B, one of the number criteria for application submittal requirements.
I, not coming into the planning commission late after Rail Splitter had been, I don't know what their application requirements were. If they had to, I know that they submitted site plans and building things, but did they have to submit current photographs of the property?
No, but they did submit aerial photographs and things like that. I mean, that's typical that we would see an aerial photograph. And then, as part of a site plan, you get topography information, so we'll see all the easements on the property. We'll know if it's wooded, if there's drains, if there's wetlands. I mean, they have to provide all that for us. So I don't know we can request it if there's a particular area that we're concerned about or something, but I don't, typically for a site plan, you don't ask for, other site plans too, you don't ask for photographs. They might provide them, but usually.
Do you think it's prudent or overkill to have a site plan that includes all proposed structures and location of all equipment as well as all setbacks, the location of property lines, signage, fences, green belts and screening, drain tiles, easements, floodplains, bodies of water, proposed access routes, and road right-of-ways? The site plan must be drawn to scale and must indicate how the utility scale battery energy storage system will be connected to the power grid.
That's all
It is a
required.
site plan.
Okay.
Yeah, that would all be covered under the site plan review
Yes.
section. I
In
mean,
it-
because we don't include language like that in every use, section, subsection of every use, not just solar, but
Yeah, all of these uses have to meet all of
Right,
these
there's a-
criteria and the site plan
right.
criteria that we
I don't have a
require
number
for every.
offhand, but there would be a section that has the site plan review requirements, and all of that that's listed is in that section.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
It's in
And
Article 11.
frankly, even if something's not specifically listed,
No, Article 11 is zoning ordinance.
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
we can actually ask for something as part of the process. Like the photographs, if they say, okay, well, we're gonna develop, 75 of the 100 acres, just making this up, because we're gonna, protect this 25 acres, we can say, okay, we'll give them some pictures of that, so that when they're done, before pictures, we can ask for anything like that we deem necessary to facilitate the review of the project.
Okay.
So, yeah, the fact that something's not listed doesn't mean we couldn't ask them. Because,
Okay.
if that's the case and they're gonna protect an area, then yeah, it'd be a good idea to have some pictures of it to make sure that they didn't go in, cut those trees down too in the process, after the fact.
Okay. Okay.
Or, whatever scenario, I'm just trying to make something up, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I got you. All right, well, thank you for allowing me to maybe ask some silly questions, because I just
No.
don't know what I don't know. This talks about if PA 233 was in effect.
Sure.
So they've got provisions in place if it goes into effect, and it talks about the following provisions apply to utility scale battery storage system with a nameplate capacity of 50 megawatts or more and an energy discharge capability of 200 megawatt hours of more, to the extent these provisions conflict with the provisions in the subsections of this plan. These provisions control as to such utility storage system is, okay, this section does not apply if P2 is repealed, okay.
So it's been a while since we talked about this, but we did talk about a Creo versus a non-Creo.
Right.
And our ordinance is so robust from what we've been working on for 10 years or
Right.
more. And so if you wanted to do a CREO, it's very easily that we could add a paragraph to the beginning of this. We're to the point right now, though, that I'm not sure it's gonna, now with the legislation changing and everything happening, I'm really not sure the CREO's really gonna, it's really gonna be in effect. And so I think we may not, that all that work we might not have to do it. So I just wanna pause on it,
Yeah.
but that's up to you. I mean, that's the advice we're giving our clients, because it, you know, it's expensive and it's time consuming, and to go through that whole process and then have it not go through, then guess what, we gotta go back through and we gotta take all that back out.
I hear what you're saying, so,
And we already have a large scale solar facility. I think I don't know that, we're gonna see more of that in Augusta Township. I think it's possible we might have batteries.
well, so I read some language about that, and the preferences are to either be within a substation, which we have one, that's why they picked the location that they did, or
Your
close
transmission
enough,
lines.
right, which I don't know, you know, what the plans could be down Carpenter and Stony Creek, like if they, because they cut back on the amount of farmland they were using for the panels, so there's probability that maybe we could add a battery storage system there. But usually they've gotta have something nearby in
Well,
order
that-
to capture
Right.
so I anticipate this coming
It could.
within this area. It might be York Township, it might be our township, since it crosses both,
Well,
but
if
since we have that substation.
Well, and if they were to come and say, you know, we reduce the size of our panels, we reduce the amount of area, would like to do, storage here, then guess what? They gotta go back through all this whole process to
Yeah.
amend their plan and get the use approved.
Okay,
So,
Yeah.
at this point, they would.
yes.
Now, if the state does a CREO and it's considered it would be considered a capacity, because the state is saying if you have a combined solar and battery that meets that nameplate threshold, because and this project, the solar project already meets that, right? So if they were to add battery, it would be utility scale, continue to be utility. So I think that it's a possibility, but at this point, I think we can regulate it, and we'll wait and see what happens with the state.
So, I get what you're saying about Creo, and I agree with that. I wouldn't want our township to build hours for something that might
Right.
not happen, so I understand that. So with that being said, could we though put in some language within this ordinance that talks about our energy district and lays out some stipulations around, well, okay, so Augusta Township, it lives here, so maybe draw a perimeter, like this is our energy district, and it covers these ordinances, and anything new coming in would, and I mean, maybe it's like just extra fluff that you don't need, but just to have it on paper.
I think we already say that though. We say that we limit the solar and energy storage facilities to the light industrial and general industrial zoning districts. And that's really the only large properties are already encumbered by solar facilities. So I'll leave it up to further discussion, but I don't know that it's needed. I think we're saying the same thing, just differently.
So for purpose of our discussion, because you're gonna have to make some revisions, and it's gonna come back for more review, would it be possible to get a graphic that shows the GI and the LI area, and then what's encumbered by solar, just for our, which would then, because we essentially created the district,
Right.
because it's limited to LI and GI. So the question is, how much undeveloped land is left in those two zoning districts that's not already encumbered by
By solar.
rail splitter, I'm sorry, I was trying, I wanted
Yeah,
to say
that's-
whitetail, but.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And you know, in some of rail splitter, whitetail, or whatever you wanna call it, I think is zoned AR, right? Because we modified the ordinance to allow it in
Right.
some in AR.
Right,
But
so.
we don't allow that now.
Right,
So,
correct.
so you're gonna
Correct.
see that it is actually in more properties that aren't zoned LI and GI.
Right.
Because of how it has transpired. But yes, I can provide that now.
So I think that would be a valuable
Okay.
tool for
Sure.
our evaluation. It might answer some of the questions that you have, or maybe it answers the question, and we say, yeah, we do need or want something.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
for,
you. Thank you for listening.
yeah, Commissioner Alves, thank
Answering.
you for your review, and Ms. Krebs, thanks for preparing that.
Sure.
Are there any other questions or comments, discussion on this? All right, so Ms. Krebs, things that we've talked about, you'll make various revisions and whatnot, we'll bring it back for
Yes, sir.
possibly one more review, at which point then we would recommend a review by the township attorney before we would send it to the board, just to make sure from a
Yeah.
legal point of view. Okay.
Yep.
All right, we move on to item 7B, the housing readiness audit discussion.
So in your packet, you have a memo from me dated January 6th. As you are aware, or maybe you forgot, but last year, the township received a grant through MISTA to do a housing audit and modify ordinances in order to seek ways that we can provide a more variety in housing specifically for seniors. So I did an audit of the master plan, and in this memo you can see I wrote all the goals and objectives and strategies that are listed in the master plan that are related to residential development. A lot of them are focused on